What's up, SnowTrax Nation? I'm here in Sherbrooke, Quebec at Ski-Doo's training center, and I'm going to be joined by Ski-Doo product manager Vincent Deschenes and engineering project manager Etienne Girard to answer some of our questions and some questions that you've submitted about 2025's hottest new models. On the block is the 2025 Backcountry XRS 850 Turbo. Let's get started. Vincent and Etienne, thank you so much for joining us for this video. We are going to be talking about the 2025 Backcountry XRS, and there is some very exciting news in this segment this year. Actually, there's multiple exciting pieces of news for this sled this year that I think are going to get people super pumped. So let's start off by talking about what is a Backcountry XRS and sort of what is the target demographic, the target rider for that model.
Backcountry is part of our crossover lineup. So we're talking about people that want to do on-trail riding, but also off-trail riding where it's legal to do it, obviously. So to ride the backcountry, you need to be more active. Some people like to lean in corners, especially with the previous configuration that we had. We have something new in 25 that we will discuss that ease the effort of trail riding. But yeah, backcountry is a super exciting model for us in 2025.
Go over some of the specs of the model we have sitting here in terms of like what kind of suspension does it have? What's the rear suspension? What are some of the differentiating factors between a backcountry and an MXZ?
Yeah, so the backcountry got revamped totally in 2024. So we have a new rear suspension that is called a C-Motion X. So that differs from the MXZ R-Motion. So that is the true crossover suspension. We took the best from the trail segment and the best from the deep snow segment and made a real specific crossover rear suspension. So it has better, let's say, behavior in trail than a T-Motion, but also a better off-trail capability than the trail R-Motion. Aside from that, here we have the Backcountry XRS with the narrow-rest front end, so the 39-inch ski stance. So this allows, yes, to be performing in trails because we added the rack steering system last year in 2024 that has a lot of stability and precision in cornering. But you maintain the fun factor off trail because it's easy to lean, to do slalom, donuts, and everything. So that's what we do enjoy about the backcountry, having those on and off trail capabilities.
So this is going to lead us into the next thing to talk about because you mentioned the 39-inch front end, and this is a great crossover sled if you really like to play off trail. If you're the kind of guy who spends a lot of time off trail in deep snow, this is definitely the package for you. But I've been asking Ski-Doo for a long time, and I know there's been other people asking Ski-Doo to bring back the wide front end backcountry because I spend most of my time on the trail and I like to play off trail, but the majority of time is spent on trail. So tell me about what's new for 2025 in the backcountry lineup.
Yeah, well, in fact, in 2024, when we brought the backcountry on Gen 5, one of the goals was to improve the cornering trail capability. So we brought the rack steering system, and people were pleased with that, but still after a season, there was requests for additional trail capability. So we're bringing the RAS RX front suspension that we're introducing as well as in the MXZ lineup and the Pilot RX skis, all of this to increase the stability in cornering, predictability in cornering, big bottom capacity. So a huge improvement for trail application in the backcountry.
And it is a full width trail front end.
Yeah, it is 43-inch ski stance.
I couldn't be more excited, and I have ridden it, and it works every bit as good as I always hoped it would. So the smile won't be leaving my face anytime soon. What I think is really great, though, is that you did maintain both. I think that's really, really smart because I talked to a lot of people who, and you obviously do as well, who love the 39-inch front end. So it would be a shame to lose that. There's no reason to lose that, but there's also no reason not to give everybody what they want.
Yeah, the XRS is the ultimate, is at the top of the food chain of the backcountry XRS. So we're offering exclusively on the XRS the option of the 43-inch ski stance. We'll see how the market responds, and we're always listening. So stay tuned for more.
Tell me about how the RAS RX front suspension works. Now this isn't, I don't want people to get confused. The one we're looking at here is the narrow front end, but we've obviously seen the RAS RX front end on a number of models. But tell me how it works with the rear suspension, the 146 C-Motion X skid. How does that mate up with each other? How did it actually turn out?
You know, with the longer skid, it tends to, let's say, push a little bit more, let's say, on the corner because it's longer to steer. With the wider front end, it helps that. So it makes sense for, let's say, trail riding to have a wider front end with the longer track. The ride is really, really fun with that. Obviously, we did some more changes, like we'll discuss later, but it's not only the front end that we change. But when we tried it, we had the same thing as you, let's say, a smile on our face. And so we wanted to keep that as an option because we didn't want to, let's say, the customer that buys the narrow front end, we still want to please them also, so that's why.
In terms of off-trail capabilities, give me a bit of an overview of the wide front end. I mean, how much fun can you have off-trail with the wide front end? Is it really going to ruin that off-trail experience?
Obviously, it will be more difficult, let's say, to countersteer because it's really wide, but the ski has more flotation, so that's why we like this ski on this type of vehicle because of the 20 millimeter additional flotation or width that we have to the ski. It gives flotation, so you can go, let's say, on a field or play outside on off-trail. It will float, especially with the longer track, but it will not be as nimble, let's say, as a narrower front end.
So it's not that you can't go off trail and have a good time. It's just that you might have to work a bit harder for it.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
For some people is part of the fun. I think it's very interesting just to point out an interesting thing in the industry is that you've now offered 2 versions of your crossover sled. Your one competitor has never offered 2 versions, and your other competitor used to, and now has gone to just offering one narrow one. So everybody's just kind of doing this all over, and I think you've ended up in the right spot. This is exactly where crossover should be, in my opinion. You know, other people's results may vary, but that's how I feel about it. So the front end of the sled has got some great options with RAS RX being wider, trail-oriented, but the RAS RX version of the Backcountry also gets a new track, the Storm 150. Tell me about that track. What's unique about it, and why does it work?
The track, we wanted to have a more trail-oriented track, so we want to have a stiffer profile. The 1.6 Cobra that we offered on the narrow front end is more, let's say, for off-trail capability. Now we wanted a track that has better acceleration, better braking, less slippage. So we choose the 1.5 Storm track. And also it has a different profile height. So on the side it's shorter, so it helps the vehicle to steer because it's a longer track. Obviously it's 146, so when you enter a corner, like I said, it's more difficult to steer. But with this track, it can lean and go in the corner.
So you actually have less surface contact area on flat ground, which makes turning easier, but then when you're in the deep snow and you're not hitting anything hard, those outside lugs pick up and give you the traction that you need.
Yeah, that's correct.
And this track also comes studded or unstudded, pre-studded or unstudded, which is fantastic. I know I always pick the pre-studded track. That's a great option. Very exciting, very unique. Now you talked about acceleration and braking, so that's what we're going to talk about now.
Okay.
Backcountry 2025 is the second model in your lineup to get what awesome power package?
Obviously, we started with the 850 E-TEC Turbo R in Model Year 24 in the comp package. Now we offer it on more models this year, so the Backcountry was our second choice to have it. To have a turbo, since it's 50-50 also when we get the narrow front end, so we want to have the turbo when you go off trail on power day, let's say, and we wanted to have it on trail. There are slight differences in between the comp package and this one, but they got the same HP, the same water injection system. The main differences is the launch mode, which we leave on the competition package.
So what type of rider do you see being the turbo backcountry rider? Describe that guy for me.
You know, it's the one that are always chasing for more. You know, there's people that are always looking for more performance, more power, more everything, and that turbo engine with water injection system is the engine that would provide that, and with its 180 horsepower, which is the highest horsepower of the industry. I think consumers that are looking for that will be very pleased with that engine package.
Just give me your thoughts on what that extra horsepower allows the rider to do that maybe they wouldn't be able to do or would struggle more with on the regular 850.
Well, there's few consumers that take these sleds, let's say from the Midwest, and go a few days a year in the mountains. So at higher altitude where you're starting to lose power because of the density of the air, well, with that turbo, you'll keep the 180 180 horsepower up to 8,000 feet, which the normally aspirated engine wouldn't do. Other than that, let's say if you're at sea level, that's a plus 15 horsepower. That's always there, very seamless, but very powerful. You can definitely feel it. So yeah, there's many advantage of it.
This is a question we get asked all the time, and I've often been curious about it. Just to clarify, is the backcountry geared differently than an MXZ?
Well, the first thing first, the MXZ has a shorter chain case,
right,
while all the backcountries have longer chain case for track clearance. As for gearing, the trail one has a longer gearing to, let's say, have a higher speed, while the backcountry is more for off-trail, so you want a shorter gearing.
So it does have shorter gearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Now nobody has to ask that question ever again because they have the answer. And just to clarify, because I know the next question will come up, wide and narrow, same gearing?
Well, it's still a backcountry, so we wanted to keep the feeling of the backcountry. So it's not, let's say, a lake rocket. It's really a backcountry, so we want to keep the off-trail capability of it.
Very good. I'm glad we got that answered. People can stop asking me. We talked about the Storm 150, which is on the wide front end backcountry. Let's talk about the skid length and track options that are on the narrow front end backcountry, because they are different and there's some more options you can get on the narrow one. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so if we start with the 146 on the backcountry XRS, we have 3 tracks options. So we got the 15-inch wide 1.6 Cobra track. We got the studded version of that track, so that's the second option. Then there's the third option that we have here, which is the Powder Max. That's a 16-inch wide. That's a 2-inch lug. And then on the XRS exclusively in our backcountry lineup, we have a 154-inch track length available either in 2-inch or 2.5 with a 16-inch wide.
So you can really take that sled into some serious off-trail situations with a 154 and a 2.25 lug.
Yeah,
that's a serious off-trail sled.
Yeah, and that's something we're the only one in the industry in North America to offer 154-inch crossover 2-stroke engine. Yeah.
So turbo power in the backcountry is a very big deal. People are super pumped about it. I'm pumped about it. But it's a bit limited. You didn't just offer it like carte blanche, anything you want you can have. The turbo comes sort of in its own little package. Can you describe how that package is laid out and what the specifics are?
Yeah, obviously we wanted to offer it with our 39-inch ski stands, which is kind of our bread and butter in the backcountry lineup, but also with the big product news of the 43-inch ski stands. So it's offered with both ski stands, comes standard with the 10.25-inch touchscreen display, shot starter. And then if you start with the 39-inch ski stands, only one track option is offered, which is the 2-inch. And if you go with the wider ski stands, only one track options, which is the 1.5 non-studded track.
And are there color options for either of those?
Yeah, either black or the one that you're seeing here, the flare yellow.
So you can get the narrow XRS in black or yellow, and you can get the wide XRS in black or yellow.
Exactly.
But the rest of the package is pretty set, and it's all the top of the line, best of the best stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, shot starter is something we don't talk a lot about. The only trail model to have it is the competition package turbo, but now it's available on the turbo backcountry. And how do you think people are going to respond to that option, given that this is sort of it's not sort of, it's a crossover. It does go off trail, which is where SHOT was originally designed. Yeah,
well, we have shot starter on backcountry since a few years. I think in the first year of the Gen 4, if I'm not mistaken. So it's quite popular. Also on the Gen 4, obviously in our lineup, Deep Snow lineup on Summit and Freeride, everybody wants shot. They don't want to pull the or add the additional 20 pounds for the electric start. But in the backcountry, the ones that are doing more off-trail riding, they want that lightweight saving with the convenience of the push button starting.
Is shot start available on non-turbo wide front ends?
No, the wide front end, more trail oriented. We went the MXZ way, let's say, with electric start standard.
So the only way to get shot on a wide front end is to go turbo.
Exactly.
And you should go turbo anyway because it's awesome.
And it compensates for the weight of the electric start. So that's for the turbo versus the electric start. So the electric start, like Vincent said, it's 20 pounds. The turbo adds some weight, but then if you go shot, it's a washout. So you don't.
After riding the competition package last year with SHOT, there were so many instances where SHOT worked when I kind of expected it to have run out of its charge. after lunch, we'd come out in the parking lot and I'd try it just for fun, and it fired right up. Those were days when I only had to pull that sled over once and I was trail riding all day. So it really is a feature that works everywhere. And I know everybody who used it on that turbo really, really loved it. So it's definitely something, if I had a backcountry of any style, I'd want it for sure. So that's pretty interesting. Tell me about suspension packages in terms of shocks. What are the different levels of shocks you can get on a backcountry?
So let's say if we start with the backcountry sport, that is still on Rev Gen 4, that's the entry level one. So basic shocks. Then we got the adrenaline, a bit higher quality shocks. Same calibration as we would get on the X package, but X package gets piggyback rear shock, aluminum shocks that are rebuildable. And then when you move to the backcountry, it's piggyback all the way around. So 36 millimeters in the front, 40s in the back, adjustable with 3-click. So soft, medium, firm.
So these are 3-position adjustable?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. So now I have a viewer question, and viewer questions are always interesting. It's always funny to see what other people want to know that I haven't thought of yet. So Spencer Pika wants to know, with the new Raz RX front suspension being inspired by the Snowcross design, why not just use the Snowcross spindle in the trail sleds and save money on manufacturing costs?
That's a good question. The race, it's race inspired, so it's really not the same spindle, as you say. The only thing that we keep the same is the trailing to get more precision on the bumps. But the racing spindle, has a lot of capacity, but it's not comfortable. So it's not civilized, let's say, in a way. So we want to keep the skidoo feeling and have to keep the comfort. So we change a bit the geometry, but we keep the inspiration from the racing.
So you get race-inspired or race precision and stability in the handling department, but you don't get the harshness of a race sled. And for anyone who's ridden a race sled knows they are just not fun to ride in bumps if you're not racing. So
that's true.
You get all the benefits and none of the negatives by going with the way that you've gone.
That's what we did.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you very much, Vincent and Etienne. That was very informative. You guys answered all kinds of questions I had, as well as I'm sure questions so many other people had. We now want to talk about the 10.25 display, because that's big news as well in the backcountry. But to do that, we're going to bring in your connectivity specialist, Julien Rivest, and we'll find out all the details of how it fits in the backcountry and why it's such a great fit for that model. Julien, thanks for joining us. I already know that you are the guru of all things 10.25. We've spoken before at different events, and there's not a single question you haven't been able to answer that I've come up with, so I'm excited for today. What I really want to do today is just go over some of the new features of the 10.25 display, because there's some really exciting new stuff going on here, but then also go over some of the stuff that people kind of forget about that it can do, because it has a lot of functionality that we really don't talk that much about.
Perfect. So in 2025, we improved the experience of the gauge. So that's a good thing about technology and connectivity. We can add some features over time that are also available through an over-the-air software update. And for 2025, we're super proud to announce that we have introduced what we call the built-in GPS functions with embedded maps. So that means that as a rider, you can now easily access some navigation features without the need to connect a phone to your display. So I'll maybe just go through the interface so you'll be able to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So with the interface here, with the applet menu right there, you will see the navigation applet as of the last year or even 2023 models. And now when your GPS module is installed and you have the latest software update, you will access, again, built-in GPS function. So you will be able to see your own position on the map without a cellular connection. And also you can easily see a very nice topographic map. Right now I'm in Montana as the example, so I can see some good maps right here. You can zoom in, zoom out. And as soon as you'll be riding, you will be able to see your breadcrumb trail. Okay. So that means that every time that you're moving with your sled, it will track where you've been. That's super awesome for, let's say, a backcountry sled, or even if you're riding on the trails or in the mountain with a deep snow sled, because you'll be able to see where you've been, and if you want to go back at your starting point at night or at the end of the day.
So basically, you can get super lost, but you can always get home.
Exactly.
Perfect.
And if you like your ride, you will also be able to see your saved breadcrumbs on the gauge. So every time that you ride, it will be saved. You can manually, if you want, from the map option here, hide or show your breadcrumb trail, as well as delete them if you don't want to see them again. But let's say that you rode last week in a place that you really liked and you want to go back to this exact same spot, it will be saved on the gauge, so it's super easy for you to go back to this.
Can you title them or name them, or is it just saved as like dates?
For now, it will only be saved as a breadcrumb trail on the gauge.
Okay.
So there is no, let's say, customization option for this specifically, but that's something that we could add in the future.
Very cool. So, okay, let's talk about the thing that everybody gets very confused about. This has a built-in GPS, but what is the difference between the functionality with the built-in GPS and then what happens when you connect your phone? What is the difference between those two scenarios?
Yes, I'm super glad that you had this question. So that's a solution, the built-in GPS, where you don't need to connect a phone to your display. So for some people, that's awesome because they just want to go on their sled, go ride, see where they are and see where they've been. But if you want to have more features, so I'll give some example. If you want to plan some routes on trail or even off trail, if you want to get turn-by-turn directions, if you want to see your friends on the map, if you want to see gas stations, now you will need to connect your phone via a USB cable that can be found in the glove box and use the free BRP Go app.
Okay.
So there's a built-in GPS that have many useful features for some customers, but for a richer experience, you can download the app and use it connected to your gauge.
Now, okay, that's very interesting, but there's also more to it than that in terms of what your phone can do with the BRP Go app while it has cell signal and what it can do when you lose cell coverage, because that's a very confusing thing.
Yeah.
It's not, when you lose cell coverage, your BRP Go app doesn't stop working.
Exactly. So in the app, we introduced a feature 2 years ago where you can pre-download a map area. So that's super simple. We call it offline areas in the app. So you can do this at home with Wi-Fi or with your cell network. And once you will lose cell signal during your ride, your pre-downloaded map areas will still be there. You will still get all your point of interest information, still see your turn-by-turn directions and your own position, because your own position rely on your phone GPS.
Right.
But the only thing that doesn't work without the cell signal is to see your friend's position on the map in real time.
So that's the only thing you lose when you lose your cell coverage, is that you can't see your friend's position. That's it.
Exactly.
Everything else works.
Exactly, with the BRP Go app.
Right.
But again, there is a built-in GPS function as well. So if you don't connect your phone, you can use these features. You can see your breadcrumb trail and see your position on the map without even having your phone on you.
So there's so many different ways to use this system. It's very versatile. And I think the base piece of information that people will want to know is that if you drop your phone in your ice fishing hole, you can still get home using your breadcrumb trail that you saved on your GPS module in your gauge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully you will not lose your cell phone,
Well,
but
hopefully,
it can happen.
Stranger things have happened. Very good. So, okay, that's great. I think that explains a lot, and hopefully will answer questions that our viewers have had.
Yeah.
And certainly even I've had after being explained numerous times. That was the clearest explanation I've got so far.
Awesome. And if I can add a super important element is that one cool thing about it, like I mentioned at the beginning, is the fact that you can have this built-in GPS function even if you have a 2023 or 2024 backcountry or a deep snow or trail Ski-Doo model. So there's two things you need to do to have this function available on your gauge. You need to, one, buy and install a GPS module. So this can be found in any BRP dealership. And two, you need to do the software update.
Which happens over the air.
That's right. So I can show you quickly because some customers sometimes don't know exactly how to do it. But with the gauge, you can connect to a Wi-Fi network. So right now, I can be connected to Wi-Fi network. And with the general section here, I can access software updates. Now, I'm not connected, but once you're connected, the gauge will be searching for the update. You can just download it, install it, and you'll get all these features.
So you can do that while it's sitting in your garage connected to your home Wi-Fi, or you can create a hotspot on your phone to do it anywhere you get cell coverage.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yep.
Over-the-air updates are the best. I mean, not having to go to a dealer and have them plug it in, to just be able to click a button, you get the latest software. That's the way to do it.
Exactly. And also, you download your maps to have the built-in GPS function. So I'll show you how to do it. And you can also make sure that they will be always updated. So I just want to go back here in the menu to show you. So in the preferences section here, at the bottom, we added the maps section here, which will allow you to download some map area directly from your gauge. So let's say that you want to prepare for the upcoming season. You want to download, let's say, the map of Montana or Quebec or any other state or province. You can easily download it directly from there. And then it will be stored on your gauge with the topographic elements.
So what that means is I can download the trails, all the trails from Quebec in a file that's available online. Most places have that file available.
Yep.
To the gauge, no cell phone, to the gauge.
Yep.
And when I'm leaving a breadcrumb trail, that breadcrumb trail will be on an actual trail on the map.
Exactly, exactly.
Awesome.
And on our side, we support multiple provinces and states, as well as in Finland, Sweden, and Norway.
Oh, wow.
So we work directly with the federations to make sure that we have the latest and
All
most
over the
accurate.
world?
Well, mostly, yeah. We're almost covering all the key states and the provinces in Canada and US.
Very interesting.
And the updates depending on the region. Sometimes it's weekly updates, sometimes monthly updates, sometimes a couple of times per season. But once the update is available, we push it to our Builtin GPS server, and people can update their trails if they are connected to Wi-Fi manually.
So what that means is before you go out for a ride, you're better off to update your map because it may have changed since the last time you rode. Your club may have closed a trail or moved a trail, whatever.
Yeah.
You may not have the latest edition of the map.
Yeah, exactly. The map itself might not change, like the topographic elements, but the trails might,
Right.
as you mentioned. Of course, if you're using the BRP Go app, it's updated seamlessly because it's connected to a network or your Wi-Fi. But with the gauge, you need to, let's say, go check if there is a trail update available and download it again.
So probably something good to do at least once every couple of weeks just to be sure.
If you want to, yes,
Yeah.
to make sure that everything is updated, yeah.
Well, that's a whole other area of functionality that I didn't know this gauge had, to be able to save the map so that on your topographical screen you have the actual trails.
Yeah.
Even if you're not using breadcrumbs, you can at least see where the intersections are and which direction you want to go. So it becomes super handy no matter what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Okay, that covers off the GPS and the
Yeah.
maps. Highlight for me some of the new features and some of the ones that you find people oftentimes either don't know about or get wrong.
Okay, so I'll start with the new 2025 feature. So I talked about the built-in GPS, but we also improved some elements following customer feedback from the previous years. First thing first is regarding, I'll just put it like this, it's regarding the E-TEC grips. So again, following feedback from last year and the season before, we are now able to manage the heat from the thumb and the grip independently with the control module right here. So if I press that button here, you'll be able to see that right now I'm able to control the grip and the thumb independently, and I can easily manage the heat like this. So that's a small detail, but for some people that was something that they wanted, so we just, for you.
I complained about it. Yeah, yeah.
So again, this is also available for 2023 and 24 sled when you do the software updates.
So you don't need the module for that. You just do the update and you
Yeah.
get that functionality.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's number 2, let's say. Number 3, it's the addition with our new Vibe communication system. So we released last year the Vibe communication system, and this year the Vibe universal com system. So in a nutshell, the difference between both, the Vibe com system can be attached to the Advex and Advex Jet helmet. So that's a BRP helmet, but the Vibe universal can be put on any helmet. So that's awesome. And what I'm talking about, why I'm saying this is because right now, if you connect your Vibe or Vibe universal to the gauge via Bluetooth, with this microphone button right here, you'll be able to easily mute and unmute your mic with both hands on the steering wheel.
Excellent.
On the handlebar, sorry. So it will be super easy for you to mute and unmute in a safe way for you.
That's very, very interesting, and nice that there's universal setup.
Yeah.
Because not everybody wears a BRP helmet. Maybe they should, I don't know, but not all of them do. So
Yeah.
very, very good. All right, let's keep going. That's great news.
And other features that sometimes are, let's say, hidden or that I see that people really like when they found about it. First thing first is when you're in this full gauge view with the speed, with the RPM, you set the center what we call a center gauge. So right now you can see your smart chucks like this. You can easily switch from Sport to Sport Plus or anything like this. But if you long press at the center like this, you can swap the metric that will be shown in the center. Right now I just switch for the belt temperature, but let's say that I want to see my battery voltage, I can also swap it like this. If you want to see my coolant temperature, same thing like this. So that's a cool way to, let's say, customize your favorite metrics on the gauge.
So this does, what you just changed there gives me those gauges. They're an auxiliary middle gauge.
Yeah.
When you had it on the suspension settings before, is that one of these settings if you keep cycling through?
Yeah, so if I continue, you will go back to the beginning right here with my smart chucks that will be put back in.
Okay, so that's not a gauge, that's a setting.
It's a
but I
setting.
can choose gauges as well.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So that's first thing. Another thing that I want to show you is the fact that if I go to preferences, I can customize what we call the applet switcher button and the ride settings button.
Okay.
So that's super interesting because, again, you can customize your experience to your needs. So I'll just show you a quick example. Let's say we go here in the applet switcher section in the preferences. You will be able to see which elements will be in rotation while you're using this button.
Okay.
So let's say that I never use music because I don't have a headset connected and I don't want to see my riding stats, so only navigation and gauges. Right now, when I'll be pressing that button here, it will only swap between navigation and gauges.
Okay.
So that's a cool way, again, to tailor the experience to your needs. You can even change the rotation order if you want to. And same thing if I go back to preferences in the ride settings, I can do the same for my vehicle settings. So let's say that I don't want to manage my E-TEC grips from this ride settings button, but I want to only manage my suspension. Next time I'll be pressing that button here, it will only be your suspension that will be shown in this setting, so you can easily access.
Otherwise, if it was something else, I would push that button twice to get to the next setting.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the rocker switch would adjust that setting.
Exactly. So that's another cool way to customize the experience. Maybe one last thing that could be important to highlight, because we know that on a snowmobile, sometimes there's a lot of snow on the gauge, on the backcountry, or even on a deep snow model. So when you press that button here, the quick preferences at the bottom, you can access a bunch of options, but one of them is the lock screen capability. So that will allow you to lock the touchscreen functionality to make sure that if you're wiping your screen like this, because there's a lot of snow on it, it will not, let's say, move around or change the map options or press a button. So that's a cool way to just clear your screen of snow. And to unlock it, you can just long press here and it will be unlocked for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Show me some of the main gauge displays, because we've looked at the one that has gauges on both sides. We've seen the GPS. What are some of the other main gauge displays?
So if I go here in the applet menu right here, this is where you can access all your features of the display. So on the left side, you see your gauge, but on the right side, you will see some content. So the first thing is the phone applet. So right now I have my phone connected. If I have a headset connected, I can place and receive a phone call. If I receive a phone call as well, I will get a notification. I can accept it, either from the touchscreen or with the up and down and OK button right here. Other cool thing is media. So media allow you to listen to your favorite song and manage the song that you're playing. So let's say that I'm writing and I want to switch my song, I can easily do it with the next and previous button right here.
Great song choices, by the way.
Oh yeah? Cool. Then stats, which will show you your current stats or even your trip A or trip B. So if I go here, go back one menu right here, you can select, let's say, your trip A or trip B metrics. And another hidden things that sometimes people don't know is that you can easily swap between trip A and trip B without touching the touchscreen. So if you long press on the up and down button, you can easily swap between current ride to trip A to trip B. You can even reset your trip with a long press on the OK button. Right now it's already reset, so there will no be...
Okay, all right. That was something that took me a long time to figure out, was how to reset my trip meters.
Oh yeah? Okay.
And once I figured it out, it was easy, but it did take me a while. So that's very self-explanatory now, the way
you can do it either from the touchscreen here or with the long press on the OK button.
All right,
So
very good to know.
we always want to make sure that our riders are able to control the interface either with their finger or with the control module while they're riding for safety.
Now, trip is something you can put on one of these selectable buttons, right?
Yeah.
And cycle through it as you're riding.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then once I'm cycling through it, I can reset it
Yeah.
and cycle between A and B using this.
Exactly. So you can do all you just mentioned while riding. Well, you need to be safe, but you don't need to, let's say, touch with your finger the screen to do all these things.
Awesome. That is great.
So that's riding stats. Then vehicle applet allow you to see some some of your vehicle elements. So right now you can see your suspension. But like I mentioned, it's much more easy to change your suspension type with this button. You can also see some vehicle L. So if you want to see, let's say, your VIN number, or let's say you have some faults on your sled, you can easily see their codes and what a small description of
This one is telling you that you don't have a snowmobile.
Yeah.
The rest of the snowmobile's missing. That's a pretty serious code.
Yeah. Navigation, I just explained it to you. Again, if you plugged in your phone, BRP Go will go on.
It automatically takes over.
It automatically takes over. Exactly. But if you're using BRP Go, you can also, from here, change between Builtin GPS and BRP Go.
Okay.
So you can decide what you want to display
So it automatically takes over as a preset, but you can select to go back to the like GPS module if you want to.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then controls. So that's another way where you can see your E-TEC grips functions. So you can see that, again, you can manage it independently. But while riding, or let's say to have a quicker access to your E-TEC grips, there's a button here. And preferences, I'll just go quickly into it because I highlight some of the key features, but you can see your display size, so display brightness. You can also change it to bright if you want to, like this. Bluetooth, so you can pair your phone and 2 headsets to the display. So if you're riding with a passenger, you can also add their headset connected. So that means that you will be both able to listen to the same songs if you want to.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Wi-Fi, I just mentioned this. General, you can switch your metrics. So if you're riding in the US or in Canada, you can switch between Imperial and this. Applet switcher, ride settings, I liked it. So you can customize the order and the applets that will be in rotation. And maps, so again, that's where you'll be able to download your maps to have the built-in GPS experience going on.
And there is a lot going on there. There's a lot of options. And having you explain it the way you just did is going to help me this winter. I'm going to be able to figure all this out and do it all myself now. Now, the last thing that you have been doing sort of just intuitively that I really like is that you're just swiping across to go back to the full gauge. So I can do that when it's GPS. I can do that no matter what's on the right side. I just swipe across, I get my full gauge.
Yeah, and maybe I can finish on this because there's another hidden thing that people don't know. If you're, let's say, riding with the split screen view and you want to quickly access your full gauge view with your speed and RPM, you can long press on the applet switcher here button, and it will always bring you back here.
Okay.
So that's a quick way to easily go see your RPM, speed, and your center gauge.
If I long press again, does it go back?
No, it will only go back to the full gauge, but you're already on the full gauge.
Okay, so now I have to swipe across to get my GPS back.
Swipe across or use this button and go, let's say, to navigation.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then
but the long press takes you back to your gauge.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting stuff. Now, obviously, this is useful for everybody. I mean, whether you're mountain touring, trail performance, crossover, this is super useful. But we're talking about backcountry.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me like this has so many useful features that would aid you in your backcountry adventures. I mean, so many options here just work great for the backcountry itself.
Yeah.
So what models of backcountry is this available on?
So on the Backcountry X and the Backcountry XRS, the gauge will be available. So that means that all the features that I just mentioned will also be available on this model.
But it comes standard on the turbo. Yes, it's okay. So you get it no matter what on the turbo. That's sweet. Thank you, Julien, for that information on the 10.25-inch display. You've opened my eyes to a whole bunch of stuff I didn't know and things I know a lot of people are going to find very, very valuable. And just want to point out that this information isn't just about the backcountry. This is relevant across the entire lineup of sleds that have the 10.25-inch display. So thank you very much for that explanation. Thank you guys for watching this video on the Backcountry XRS Turbo, both the narrow and wide versions. I hope you guys found this video as informative as I did in creating it. This is just one of a 4-part video series, so make sure you check out the other 3 videos in the series and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of that information.